Hello there, and welcome back to the neighborhood. Thanks to Gestalt Audio, we're taking a look at one of their imports from Bosnia, the Konus Audio Integrale 2000. This is a basic integrated amp with a simple design and uncompromising sound. Let's get into it. So the Konus Audio Integrale 2000 is Konus Audio's flagship integrated amplifier at the moment, which comes in at a suggested retail price of $4,895 USD. There's also a 1000 level version of this amp that's $1,000 cheaper, that's designed in a similar manner, but just isn't as premium as this one. So if your budget is more accommodating of the 1000 level, you might want to consider that one instead. I'm unsure of the exact difference between the two, because Konus Audio keeps most of that information close to the vest. But it seems that the 2000 has upgraded connections and is made from slightly higher quality, optimized, selected, and matched parts, including new old stock parts, but maintains a similar topology as the 1000 level, just further refined. Both amplifiers come in a well-constructed orange and gray painted metal chassis, which measures 7.5 inches by 7.5 inches and is 3 inches tall. They're both also dual mono, meaning that other than the integrated potentiometer on the front of the amplifier, the left and the right channels are kept separate within the box. This is why the back of the unit places the right inputs and outputs on one side of the chassis, and the left inputs and outputs on the other. In addition to the 5-way binding post, there's a power switch and 2 sets of gold-plated RCA inputs on the back of the unit as well. A simple toggle switch joins the volume pot on the front of the unit, and this is responsible for swapping between the inputs on the back. There's also a small red power indicator on the top of the device that lets you know when it's on and receiving power. But moving back to the front of the unit, the volume pot here is really nice. It glides smoothly and effortlessly with a perfect amount of resistance. In both its use and design, the user of this amp can really tell that the manufacturer put a lot of thought into the choices that were made with this Integrale. Oh, and by the way, did I mention that he builds all of his products individually by hand? So with Konus, one can rest assured that there's not only a lot of individual attention being paid in its design, but also in its build. But no matter how bespoke the product is, none of that matters if the sound doesn't justify the price. So how does the Integrale 2000 sound? Well, to sum it up in one word, blissful. This amp is a smooth operator and has rhythm and flow for days. It has an analog feel to its overall sound and euphonic qualities that make it a joy to listen to. It sounds very tube-like, despite the fact, like all other Konus Audio products, the Integrale 2000 is fully solid state. By the way, power specs of the Integrale 2000 suggest 33 watts of Class AB power per channel into 8 ohms. So this is not the most powerful amplifier out there, but it has plenty of power to drive most speakers in practical use. During my review, I utilized 8 ohm 94 dB Wolfgang Lange Sones, 6 ohm 87 dB Gershman Acoustic Studio 2 bookshelves, and 4 ohm 83 dB Cesaro Mini Wagners with a Definitive Technology Supercube 2 subwoofer in a near-field listening environment. With regard to sources, I used a Konus Audio Vinale 1000 phonostage with a Gold Note Valore Plus 425 turntable and Charisma Audio Eco Moving Coil cartridge. A Konus Audio Digitale 2000 level DAC was also used at points, or a Gold Note DS10 Plus with a PSU-10 external power supply, or a Topping D30 as a reference budget offering DAC as well. I also used it as a power amplifier in my home entertainment system, utilizing an Onkyo TX-RZ900 receiver for processing. And in all circumstances, the Integrale mostly impressed, producing a realistic and enjoyable sound. But let's get into the nitty-gritty. Konus claims that their integrated amplifiers have huge reserves of power, leading to optimal dynamics. And for its tiny size and compact form factor, this is certainly the case. With that said, this is an amplifier that is skillfully tuned specifically to enhance listenability, expertly limiting any top-end harshness or low-end rambunctiousness. In the mid-range, with the Integrale 2000, oh my, it's more than excellent. It's smooth and buttery without being slathered in syrup, more realistic than ooey gooey. Vocals are large and in charge, with emphasized microdynamics and detailed inflection. Overall, vocals are never shrill, sharp, or sibilant, and even earlier recordings like that of Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin were relatively well controlled. The soundstage that this thing throws out is not only natural, but also holographic in its delivery, with great depth, height, and width, producing a large-scale musical image. For example, the chorus pedal on the lead guitar part of the intro to Paradise City had an eerie, ghost-like depth to it that I seldom hear from other amplification. Ironic to its physical size, this little Integrale's presentation is not only considerable in its auditory scope and size, but also extremely immersive, as if one could imagine themselves walking around inside the recording, with the general character of this amplifier being driven largely by the superb quality of its vivid and richly detailed mid-range. And still, I ultimately think that the Integrale 2000 produces a sound that almost anybody can get behind, even those that covet the low end, as it has a pleasantly diffuse and velvety character to its bass reproduction. If it lacks any speed or impact in its delivery, it makes up for it with its enjoyability of sound. Furthermore, the Konus Integrale 2000 has the uncanny ability to control and contain speakers with an over-accentuated top end. For example, my Cesaro Mini Wagners, which can get a bit crispy up top, were tamed to perfection by the Integrale 2000. With rhythm and flow embedded in its DNA, it is still capable of soaring highs and slam, but delivered in the most pleasant way to the ear without ever getting overly thumpy or bright. The experience as a whole feels comfortable, as if it is as it should be, and unlike a lot of other amplifiers, the Integrale 2000 is more like an expert artist, knowing just when to color outside the lines and where it needs to rein things in, never pushing the envelope too far in the wrong direction. It's been a breathtaking experience for anyone who's had the opportunity to sit down and listen to it while it's been in my home for this review. But like any amplifier, it won't be perfect in every system. A general takeaway from my extensive listening with the Konus Integrale 2000 is that it just seems to combine best with quicker, more reactive, and potentially more sensitive speakers than it did with more sluggish, less than lively options. In other words, one might want to consider the synergy of their system and refrain from stacking too many flow-focused pieces in one particular chain. With that said, the Konus Integrale 2000 is truly an outstanding and very consistent performer that simply produces great sonics. These sonics are supremely pleasing to listen to and pleasantly acceptable to the ear. It's Konus Audio's flagship integrated amplifier, and it sounds like it. It was always an excellent reproduction of sound from a global perspective, and it sounded simply to die for in the right setup, which, by the way, was largely easy to achieve with the Integrale 2000 as well. This is likely because the Integrale 2000 embodies an exceptional soundstage, a luscious mid-range, and liquid vocal reproduction for a solid-state device. It possesses a very tube-like reproduction, despite no tubes being utilized in its topology. This is an amplifier that its listener can sit down with any digital playlist, put it on random, and just let it play without ever being offended or put off by any particular track. There aren't too many amplifiers out there that are truly capable of doing this, and I'd go so far as to say that this is a remarkably special piece. It's certainly one of the most natural sounding solid-state amplifiers out there in the marketplace right now, and of value at its price point considering what it's capable of. Although no amp can be for everyone, this one likely will please more people than it will disappoint. There's a richness to the sound that just exudes luxury, and I almost feel like I'm in a Grey Poupon commercial from the 90s when I listen to it. And just like Grey Poupon, the Konus Integrale 2000 should be seen as one of life's finer pleasures, which I wholeheartedly and enthusiastically recommend. I would have no qualms about putting this in my system permanently, as I seriously doubt I would ever have a desire to remove it for fear of being unfulfilled over the course of time. Thanks to Gestalt Audio for sending in the Konus Integrale 2000 in for a review. I'll place a link to their website to check it out in the description below. There will also be other links provided there to support the channel at all other social media platforms, including X, Instagram, Discord, the Patreon, and www.intuitreviews.com. And before you go, make sure that you've subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on to get alerted when I upload future content. And give this video a big old thumbs up if you enjoyed the review. And with that, I'm out for now.